Hey RWBY fans, it is I, the narrator, joined by the editor once again for another video. And today we are reacting to RWBY Volume 4, the character short. We have been a bit late getting to things at the moment, but I suppose you all deserve to see what we think of all this. I mean, Volume 4 is currently looking like it's going to be a whole new ball game from the last one. Any preliminary feelings, editor?
Not particularly, although it has been a very difficult time not watching this or not trying to find out anything about this.
Yeah.
Although I haven't looked into it, it may be the leaked footage that we may or may not have seen.
Yeah.
But if it is, well, I don't really remember it that much because it wasn't the best quality.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we should get to it. So,
Yeah. We've been keeping ourselves in the dark. Let's sort of expose ourselves. All right, so we gotta separately start the video at the same time.
So 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I think I did a little early. We're in. We're just going.
Oh, she's
Ominous walking.
got a bit. She's got a larger robe than usual. Or last time, she's fully cloaked now.
Her cloak's actually kind of torn.
Yeah, it's very Sidious. Very good.
She's now the Sith Lord. What
Well,
if she's the real Grip Master? That'll be a twist.
The moon is broken once more, as always. Oh,
Well, if it was full, that'd just be inconsistent, wouldn't it? I love the shadowing effects.
oh, those eyes, so detailed. Oh, that gets me every time, that transition.
I barely see her new outfit, but I'm already liking it.
Yeah, I saw like the new skirt. That's all I saw.
Oh, look at that. It just seems so much more like well done anime now.
That particle effects was amazing. Also, I know what that statue means.
We'll read into that later.
That's like anime. That is literally now like mainstream anime level detail in the face.
You know what I just hope? This isn't like one of those trailers for games where it appears a lot better than it actually is. Or something like that. Was she always that fast?
Oh, look at that clothing. Oh, it's amazing. Was she that fast? I don't know.
They actually look a lot more terrifying.
Yeah, and everything looks much more clean.
Yeah.
The particle effects look much more detailed.
Fear
Like
is
that
what
dust.
you want to me.
And also, the grip now have an aura, like a black aura about them.
This feels good.
It's a completely different style.
Oh,
It's Harambe.
yeah, it is. I saw the meme for this. It's Harambe. I always say Harambe. Is it Harambe or Harambe?
I don't know.
Either way, they've
Anyway.
come back from the dead to wreak vengeance on the unfeeling world.
Maybe it's like Fullmetal Alchemist, and this is like transition into the next world.
Yeah. I love the expression on her face. It looked a lot more real than it has in previous volumes. Oh, that smirk. Look at that.
Yeah.
That team has really picked up their game. But that's how Roosterteeth always does it. They always build upon the original quality.
Oh, she can fly now. She can actually propel herself without the ground.
Using the semblance a lot more. She's getting more confident. And it's only been like a few months. Come back! We want to play!
The temple of the goddess.
Reference. Do you feel it? Theory being confirmed.
Three circles.
Symbolic.
Across the moon.
Feel the symbolism.
Across the moon. Symbolism is real. No, Harambe, not again.
I don't think I can go through it a second time. Brutal.
Headshot.
They disintegrate really
Kill-tacular.
fast.
RWBY, we saw smoke. Heading your way.
Don't start without us.
Bitch,
You
please.
better hurry.
She's already started. It is a real wonder that villages like this even do survive out here.
Yes, it is. Oh,
Nice.
almost
Blake.
looking like winter.
I actually thought Yang would have come further by now, but I suppose it's just realistic that you just don't heal from those wounds so fast.
Yeah.
Boom. Feelings?
It's completely different art style. Like,
I
it
love
doesn't
that.
even look anywhere like the Maker sort of designs. It just looks so smooth and so beautiful.
Like if you think back to like the previous volumes, I'm even looking at a picture from volume 2, and it just does not. I love the fact that particle effects, the shadow effects, that makes so much of a difference. And I don't know whether it's just because it is the trailer and they put so much effort into it, but I hope that's reflected throughout the entire volume. Because, you know, when we've watched even in volume 3, when they're still improving upon it, you can still see the little bits of things that they perhaps didn't do perfectly. But maybe that's just because I nitpick.
Look, if I was to go back, they went from black shadow people to like basically animated people running.
Yeah.
To actually look like people if I were to go back.
So, do you think they're going to be using more unique people and less stock image people?
I miss Shop Guy number 3. I miss that guy.
I feel like his character wasn't that developed. I feel that his character was ruined by the fact that so many other people were like him. But maybe this is a society. We don't know. The RWBY world could have a society where cloning is very frequent. You know? Given how many people must die from grim attacks, maybe the cloning for reproduction purposes is a real thing. I'm not actually supporting that as a real theory, though. Just want to say that. I mean, this is a society where even space travel or like satellites in the atmosphere or whatever, or just out orbiting the Earth or the planet or whatever it's called, Remnant. Isn't that commonplace. So even though they sort of have technological advances that do seem somewhat superior to ours, in other ways it isn't. So hard to say. I'm excited.
I'm excited. It's just over a week to go. We've been so lagging behind on this. It's only a week to go.
I feel that we should explain that a bit. Like the editor has been doing a lot more since we put our last video out, and that was a little while back too.
3 months ago.
Yeah, and because the editor does, I suppose, the hardest part of all this is actually putting our videos together, that has put us back a bit. And admittedly, even I, just for scripting and voicing, I've put that off a bit too. I mean, we scripted Hu Ting, our theory regarding Hu Ting, but whether that's really not a priority given that Volume 4 is now just about to release, and we have talked about Lord Grimm Part 2 and about what that entails, and to be honest, just looking at it, it's going to be very complicated to put it into a very good theory format for you, the viewer, to understand, because everything from how Lord Grimm goes on from here is incredibly speculative. I know there's a lot of speculation in the first one, but the next step is even more speculation and incredibly, almost infinite amounts of possibilities. So the whole revelation that the fact that there is our Lady Grimm, who's called Salem, just opens the possibility of anything could happen now. And what that actually means and how that's defined is you could probably come up with just as a good part 2 to that theory as we can. So just throwing that out there. We had even joked about the possibility of not releasing it until like the 3rd episode has been published as a sort of traditional thing, but I don't know. Because if something serious is confirmed in the first 3 episodes, or something that we know now but we didn't say it was confirmed in those 3 episodes, we'd feel pretty bad about ourselves that we didn't get the opportunity to say that ahead of time. Because if we say it after that, you can't trust that we had, thought through that on our own without just sort of stealing it from the show going, hey, we already knew that sort of thing. It's complicated.
In referencing to an old thing we were going to do, we were actually going to, like, when Ironwood's allegiance was up for debate.
Yeah. I still think it is.
We actually had started putting together a video, but because it was mid-season, by the time it was ready to go, his allegiance was already revealed, and basically the video meant nothing because it was already
it certainly didn't mean as much, because for that volume we knew that Ironwood was on the side of, Beacon and all that, and Ozpin. I still think in the future that Ironwood's going to play a role that may not necessarily be as friendly to our wonderful protagonists as he previously has been, but I think that's going to be part of what makes this an amazing story, is that even those people who should be your friends, sometimes they simply disagree with you on how you win the war, sort of thing. And I think Ironwood is going to be one of those people. But only time will tell. But only time will tell whether Ironwood's going to be a sort of RWBY World Hitler or someone else.
I will now flash upon our rendition of him as Hitler. Now. We actually did work on that, but anyway.
Yeah. So we thought that he could have been a sort of Nazi, but it doesn't look that way right now. But it speaks to the sort of philosophy that was engaged in that previous war between nations and kingdoms. We just don't know exactly what the reasons were behind that. It's only inferred. But just as a small note, I want to put this out here because I don't know whether it's going to be in one of our videos. Just going to say it. The Faunus have something to do with Salem. Whether they took any part in it at all, I think Salem's influence, or at least the Grimm's influence, is partly the reason why humans distrust Faunus. Because the Faunus have animal features and animal traits that, for humans, that might represent their having Grimm-like traits or something like that. So that if there's a perception that Faunus are naturally given to be like Grimm, that would make them naturally untrustworthy. And I think that might be a reason why the Faunus War, Revolutionary War, or whatever, partly ties in with the overarching plot we've got going on here. And I think that will be revealed. But your thoughts on that?
Well, we have no idea about. I think there was 2 wars. There was the Faunus Wars, and then there was the like personality wars, like the individuality war.
Yeah.
What was that called? That was called something.
I don't know what it was called, but Ozpin did say it was about self-expression by having that individuality of art, I suppose. And art is a lot of who we are as well. It's about our expression. And when you think about who would war against that, the only kind of people who would be against individuality is collectivism. So,
or
but I don't know what that
totalitarianism.
was. Yeah. I don't know what that war was called. I think it was just called I don't think it was called the Great War, but
or something like that.
Something like that. But I dare say that Atlas was Mantle. I think it was the Kingdom of Mantle that was the real reason behind that one. But anyway.
Yeah, we had some allusions to that Mantle could be in reference to like the Weimar Republic after the Great War.
Well,
World
it was
War One.
A defunct state.
Defunct state.
And defunct is very legal terminology, so I reckon Mantle was sort of disbanded by treaty. So, just theoretically. But I think all these wars have some sort of overarching relevance to Grimm's involvement in the world, and I suppose given how prevalent Grimm are, they have to have some involvement one way or the other. But how far Salem has a hand in all of it, I'm really curious. And whether Salem's influence is why the White Fang are working with Cinder. Which doesn't go well for the fact that if humans fear faunus on the basis of their involvement with the Grimm, certainly doesn't make it better when you see White Fang just, bringing Grimm in to attack Beacon, and possibly affiliation with agents who are affiliated with this big bad Grimm. So I reckon, just calling it here, race tensions are going to get worse.
Before they get better, I think I would have to agree with that.
And Cardin Winchester's going to kill Jorn.
Oh, fuck off. We're going to have to bleep that.
No. Well, even if he doesn't kill Jorn, they're going to butt heads. I bet you they're going to butt heads.
I know, he is an arsewipe, but, I do see tension in the future.
Yeah.
But, what about Velvet? What about Blake?
Yeah.
It's
all going to be part of this sort of subplot, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's probably going to involve all those other Faunus characters as well. Depending where Blake is, we saw in the end of, near the end of this short, that, Weiss appears to be an atlas. Blake is looking over the ocean somewhere, having a day out, and Yang's still at home. So, I wonder how, they seem to have all changed so much in such a short amount of time, but I suppose when the world has just about ended 6 months ago or so, there is a lot of change that happens.
What to do after an apocalypse? What happens when you survive the apocalypse? What to do now with your life?
Well, yeah, not to mention that the Kingdom of Vale is on the cusp of collapsing, although the city of Vale, as far as we understand, is still intact, just not Beacon, which is covered in hordes of Grimm. But I think we'll go into that more if we manage to release a video about the next step in our theory.
The Goddess.
Oh, I don't even know what we should call it anymore, because given that our original idea was that, it could be anything. It could be anything, but I'd still subscribe to this idea that there are two gods in this world. Salem represents one, and there's another. And I think Ozpin could be that, maybe the wizard, or someone else. We'll wait and see. All right. Do you have anything else to say before we head off?
No. It was a good little, 5 minutes of content?
Yeah, 5 minutes. And I can't wait for the first episode. Just can't wait. Until next time, stay tuned. We'll be with you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Do.
Stop recording.
Yeah.